So let's start by talking about the game development community here in Croatia.
Mhm. Well, we've been going far back from, we as Croteam started working in 1993, and back then there was just maybe one or two teams. But recently, in the past 5-7 years, there's been a large growth, and now we have, I don't know, more than a dozen teams, and some of them very popular. Some of them working for mobile, some for desktop consoles, and it's a very, very varied scene today. Well, Croteam started as a very small developer, and we've always been very short on resources. So I think one of our specificities is that we've developed various techniques in order to be able to make pretty big games with very small teams.
When it comes to Serious Sam, that's a very popular game all over the world. What was the inspiration back in the day for that title?
Well, back then we liked to play Doom and Duke Nukem, and especially at that time, a lot of other first-person, I mean, most of the first-person shooter games were getting more closed, getting into smaller corridors, getting a lower number of enemies, but making them kind of like smarter, doing tactics and everything. And we wanted to go back to the roots and have a large number of enemies and very, very open fights with a lot of explosions and everything, and that's what brought us to make it.
What have been the challenges of sustaining that franchise over the years with sequels?
Well, the thing is, people, a lot of our fans say they want the old school gameplay, but on the other hand, you can't really completely keep it the same as it was before. Like, for example, back then, quick save, quick load was the primary mechanic. Now today, if you ship a game that really relies on quick save, quick load and doesn't have any automatic checkpoints, like a majority of markets is like, what's this? I can't even play that. So we have to be very careful to balance between the two, but we are making sure that we don't lose the original feeling and the original gameplay.
What have been the advantages of having your own game engine technology and pushing that franchise forward over the years?
Well, it's definitely, if you want to have something, if you want your game to stand out, it's always easier if you have your own technology. Like we've been always aiming for big open spaces, for a lot of enemies and that, and we've tailored the technology to be able to pull it off.
What's it like for you now to not have to avoid questions about when the next Serious Sam is coming?
Oh well, that's a huge relief, definitely.
Talk a little about being able to use Reboot Develop as a platform to show the teaser trailer.
Well, we were first a bit unsure about the concept when we were first approached by the organizers, but it turns out to be a really good idea after time when we thought about it, and I think it's a nice synergy. We like to work with them. We kind of like feel like a family with Reboot because we've been there from the first one, and it's really nice to see how it's grown into a really big and really relevant conference.
It's over 1,500 people that are here at this conference this week. How has it grown, and what impact have you seen on the Croatian game development community as a result of this conference?
It feels for me, I mean, I'm not the one running those numbers and everything, I'm not working on that part of marketing and stuff, but it feels for me that kind of like Reboot and the Croatian game development scene have grown together, and now Reboot is not just the point of being a conference for Croatian developers, but for the past few years is bringing back not just the region, but the entire world together here.
So could you talk a little about what it's been like to explore new games like Talos?
Yeah, well, we started working on Serious Sam 4 even back then in, I think, 2012, 2013, and Talos was born out of that, so we paused Serious Sam 4 in order to be able to explore this new IP and new ideas, and it was really refreshing to work on something different, but then we couldn't wait to get back to Serious Sam 4 and to start actually shipping it soon.
How do you feel exploring something new and then going back to a franchise you guys are identified with impacts what gamers will actually end up playing?
Well, I don't think it makes much of a difference. People say like, oh, these guys are making those shooter games and suddenly they make first-person puzzlers. I mean, it doesn't mean if we make shooter games that we don't like to play other kinds of games. So it just works very naturally for us.
What about the success that Talos has had? How has that impacted your studio?
Well, the success of Talos definitely helped us to have more resources to invest into Serious Sam 4. So I can say that because we made Talos, Serious Sam 4 is even better. So.
When you look at the ecosystem today with the extreme number of shooters out there, what do you feel separates your franchise from what's out there today?
Well, I think we've been very faithful to our roots, and it's again a lot of enemies, big open spaces, and really the way that we do action is we call it the signature action. It's different. The way that you dance with the enemies is something very specific. It's very hard to describe, but I think that all of our fans know what it feels like, and a Serious Sam game is always different to play than any other shooter.
The gaming industry has evolved a lot since the original Serious Sam. I mean, for example, today more people watch people play video games than play video games. In this age of Twitch, how does that type of activity influence you as a developer when you're creating a new game?
Well, we are already discussing and talking about implementing those new technologies where you can interact with streams and all that. And that's something that goes natural, and I think everyone is working on that.
The other thing that's very popular today is competitive gaming or esports. How does that, especially in the shooter genre, how does that impact you guys?
Well, there's been in the past there's always points where something new comes and it feels like everyone is now doing that. But then on the other hand, all of those old things, they don't just die off. It's more that the market is broadening and new people are coming, and I think there's always going to be room for normal single player games. So in terms of Serious Sam has the deathmatch and cooperative and everything, but I think esports is a separate category, just as like mobile games are a separate category and MMOGs are different things. So I don't think it really has to be mutually exclusive.